Hello people, I'm Ginny Metheral. I'm a 4th generation witch and I've been practicing traditional magic or the old ways all of my life. A couple of days ago I received a comment from one of my subscribers asking how to deal with toxic people from at work who you can't avoid. She said, I don't want to banish them because they might not want to move away and I don't know what to do. It then occurred to me that this is a problem. You can't go around banishing people because that is overriding their judgment and their freedom of choice. So unethical, and I wouldn't do it. So I can't change the way that other people behave towards you, but I can possibly change the way that you behave towards them. And so therefore I was looking at maybe I could do a spell for you that throws back their negativity and toxic behaviour to them. But even then I don't agree with that, because that's sending harm with harm. It's quite an ethical problem for me, just sending back people's toxicity towards them. I don't wish to cause anyone harm, and it is part of my path not to do so. So I then thought, what about an invisibility spell? Invisibility spell, I hear you all shouting at me. There's no such thing. Well, let me tell you, oh yes there is. John Aubrey, a very famous English polymath of the 1600s, wrote down an invisibility spell which has some rather strange ingredients. First of all, you need to find the severed head of a human being. Then you need some magic beans. That sounds a bit Jack and the Beanstalk, doesn't it? And finally, a young child. And you're to take the severed head and plant 2 of the magic beans in his eyes, and then a pile of beans in a ring around his head, and let the beans come to fruition. When the beans around the head, and you can test them for ripeness, you want to take your young child and holding them firmly, get them to pick the beans that have grown out of the eyes and then start shelling them. And when, keeping hold of the child, mind you, and when they shelled the one that makes you invisible, grab it, because they will then become invisible. It's a bit gory, isn't it? I don't think I'd like to go anywhere near a severed human head, but there has been long tales of invisibility. My favourite true story of invisibility concerned a policeman. On the 18th of March 1921, Patrick Hartigan, a well-known horse trainer, was staying at the Adelphi Hotel in Liverpool for the Grand National, but sadly he stumbled and fell from his window and was killed. A police officer called Williams was called in to investigate the death, and whilst he was there he discovered several MI5, which is the British Secret Service, agents staying in the hotel. They were watching a man called Merryweather. Now, no, nothing strange about this. I'm sure that many people are watched throughout history by Secret Service officials. However, there was a few burglaries at this time whilst Merryweather was staying in the hotel, and then one day one of the more notable guests had her large collection of jewellery taken from her room. Williams, the police official, happened to be there, and so he investigated these burglaries, and he spoke to the maid one day, and she told him this strange story. While she was walking down the corridor to the room where the lady had just had her jewels stolen, she was passed by someone she couldn't see. Now, Williams, of course, put this down to fantasy, imagination. But the maid turned around and said, no, you don't understand. I know who it was because they have a very distinct smell. And it was a cigar smoke mixed with this particular cologne that they like to wear. So Williams obviously asked her, who was it? This Mr. Merryweather. Now, Mr. Merryweather was only ever seen wearing very large dark glasses and a hat and was considered blind. But it turns out that the Secret Service people at this time were also watching Mr. Merryweather because his body was invisible. Williams, the police officer, found this out later when they gave chase to Merryweather, and as he raced through the hotel to get away from the Secret Servicemen who had decided to arrest him, he cast off his clothing, and as he cast off his clothing, his body was completely invisible, and as to his head, That was merely a mask. This is a true story which you can look up in the annals of the British government records. There's another very strange case where somebody was struck by lightning and therefore found that they suddenly had the ability, they kept on losing their physical, they become invisible. Whether this is true or not, I don't know, but it is an interesting case. I cannot teach you, sadly, how to become invisible at will because I don't know how. I think that there is a way to do it, but I don't know it yet. So if I researched it for the next 40 years, I could possibly come up with an answer. I'm getting quite close to that flying on a broom, so I'll let you know about that. However, I can give you a forgotten spell. Now, I have used forgetting spells constantly throughout my life. They are brilliant. I did them without really knowing about it from being a child. So I would sit at the back of the class and just cast a spell around me, willing the teacher to not ask me whatever question it was about physics or maths that I didn't care to answer. And I never got questioned. This was a natural spell to me as a child, and I've continued to use it and refine these sort of spells as I've grown older. For example, every single house that I've lived in, I've always protected with a forgotten spell. Now, what I mean by this is this: if a burglar walked past a row of houses, and mine was one of them, he wouldn't occur to him to burgle that house because my forgotten spell makes him just forget.
The first thing you need is 5 crystals. I have dowsed for mine and chosen agate, phrenite, smoky quartz, manganese calcite, slice of agate. But you must choose whatever you are most drawn to or have dowsed for, as long as there are 5 of them. The next part of this spell is to create a circle. I'm going to place one of the crystals in the middle, and the other 4 are going to represent north, south, east and west points. Take your wand and cast the circle, saying let everything that happens within this circle be for the highest and greatest good of all. Sit comfortably on the central crystal within your circle. Now I want you to imagine being in a room with the person you wish to avoid and how that feels when they ignore you. Then gather that feeling in and throw it over yourself like a cloak. Imagine this cloak to make you invisible to that person. And your spell is cast.
These forgotten spells are brilliant for things like going through airports. I have a face that says, stop me and search every single possession I have at airports. And I cannot seem to go through an airport without being searched. People like searching me, I think. Not quite sure why. I've never ever had anything on me of any interest apart from to myself, obviously. I did have more than the allowance of cigarettes when I used to smoke about 30 years ago. But he let me off. I'm going to cast this invisibility spell for every time I need to go through an airport. So you can use this spell to great effect to get people who are toxic to stop berating you and back off. My favourite thing. However, I am going to give you a little warning. You cast this spell very carefully, please, because you can become forgotten for more than just one person, and especially if you're at work, you don't want to be forgotten for that promotion. So, do be warned that you cast the spell carefully. Once you have cast the spell, do remember to release it, to take it off. Otherwise, you'll just be forgotten by all sorts of people, and that is not a pleasant experience. So if you were going to use this invisibility spell, what would you use it for? Do leave me a message in the comments, as that really helps me and my channel. Don't forget to look out on Patreon. Our coven meeting's coming up at the first end of June, or the first week of June, around then. So there's plenty of time to get on board and join us. We'll be doing lots of fun things and a lither-based ceremony. In the meantime, I hope you enjoyed this video. Give me a thumbs up and a subscribe, and I'll see you next week.